Hello and welcome to Outside Xbox. You're watching Show of the Week. I'm Jane.
And I'm Mike. This week Andy and I discovered fire in Far Cry Primal.
Okay, you just set fire to the camp.
Yes.
Andy, this is a terrible idea.
Sorry, alright, yeah, let me get out of here.
Too much fire, if anything.
You should discover water next.
One thing at a time, Jane.
Speaking of games set a long time ago, this week I've been playing Star Wars Battlefront's new DLC, which is called the Battle of Jakku.
Jane, Star Wars is set in the future, that's why there are spaceships. I shouldn't have to explain this to you.
Our victory on Endor was just the beginning.
I'm not getting into this now, Mike, but Star Wars is set a long time ago, and Battlefront's new free DLC is set before the events of new Star Wars movie The Force Awakens. 29 years before, to be precise, during the Battle of Jakku, when the Rebel Alliance were mopping up the last Imperial holdouts left after their decisive victory on the forest moon of Endor. No, you're a nerd. The Jakku of the title is a planet you might have seen in the early Force Awakens trailer that showed a Star Destroyer crashed in the desert. You're probably wondering how it got there. The Battle of Jakku shows you. After that traumatic boss battle in The Force Unleashed, we're just glad a Jedi didn't pull it out of the sky.
Reach out with the Force and grab that ship!
The DLC includes 2 maps. The first, Goazan Badlands, features a long canyon and is used for modes Blast, Droid Run, Drop Zone, Hero Hunt, Cargo and Heroes vs Villains. The second map is the expansive Graveyard of Giants, which is covered in flaming spaceship wreckage and is used for Walker Assault and Supremacy modes. It's also the map you'll be fighting above in Fighter Squadron mode and where you can play the new 40-player objective-based mode called Turning Point.
Keep those control points in Imperial hands!
Turning Point is sort of the opposite of Walker Assault, in that this time the Rebels have the upper hand over the Imperials. Their aim is to capture one of 3 control points under Imperial control within a time limit. If the Rebels succeed, additional time is added to the clock. The aim is to take control of all the Imperial control points, then the Empire's base, then, presumably, a big Ewok party.
This is it. We're capturing the last control point.
Graveyard of Giants in particular sells the impression you're part of a giant ongoing pitched battle. Look up and you'll see enough lasers for a Pink Floyd concert, and debris from the battles overhead periodically crashes to the ground, along with that Star Destroyer we mentioned earlier. The Battle of Jakku is available now and is for free for everyone who has Star Wars Battlefront. Battlefront isn't exactly flush with different maps to play on, so Battlefront owners should get on that right now to add variety to their multiplayer games. And to shame the local council on Jakku for their terrible waste collection record. Come on guys, it's been 29 years. Someone should really have cleaned all that up by now. So that's why the Star Destroyer has crashed on Jakku in the trailer for The Force Awakens. It's all thanks to Thane Kyrell and his group of former Imperials.
I love stuff like this, where the games flesh out the stories of minor characters from the books and the movies.
That happens a lot then, does it?
Yeah, Disney might have wiped clean the Star Wars extended universe to make way for The Force Awakens, but they can't mess with our headcanon. Not without a power drill, at least. And the many, many Star Wars games are a great opportunity for the less celebrated characters from the movies to shine.
I've been monitoring you, Captain Render!
One of the motley crew of bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, IG-88A is a murderous assassin droid who, entirely coincidentally, looks like a jumble of props left over from the first film. The N64 and PC game Shadows of the Empire introduced IG-88A's family. It gave him a similarly murderous brother called IG-88D, thereby making Christmas round at the IG-88's place the least enticing invitation in the galaxy. For all his big talk, IG-88D meets a sticky end in a junkyard on a planet called Ord Mantell, during a boss battle where he jumps around like a basketball point guard. Yep, pretty scary.
Good morning, Wedge. The rest of Rogue Squadron is still back at base, but I thought we could take an early morning run through Beggar's Canyon.
Given Wedge Antilles' vital contribution to the Rebellion's war effort, including saving Luke Skywalker's actual life and facilitating the destruction of the second Death Star, he gets very little real screen time in the movies. The Rogue Squadron games show exactly what Wedge was up to between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, which was basically a lot of X-Wing dogfights. 3 games worth of dogfights, in fact, if you include the excellent GameCube sequels.
Biggs, Wedge, follow me. This is Commander, Wedge Antilles of Rogue Squadron. We are coming to your assistance.
Eventually, Antilles becomes Rogue Leader based on his decision-making skills, flying ability, and the fact he doesn't grumble too much when asked to pilot a Y-Wing.
Hang on back there.
You're Jango Fett, aren't you? I've heard of you, you know. I'm Mademoiselle.
You must be new to the business.
Why, because you haven't heard of me?
No, because you're reckless.
We hear plenty about what a legendary bounty hunter Jango Fett is, but in the films he basically outsources the one bounty he gets to someone else, and then gets his head lopped off by Samuel L. Jackson. Not exactly a stellar record.
Greetings, Jango Fett. I am Tyrannus. I have a proposition for you. You are one of a select few chosen to participate in a special hunt.
PS2 game Star Wars Bounty Hunter does a decent job repairing his reputation, chucking him into a conspiracy orchestrated by Darth Tyrannus, and tooling him up with flamethrowers and missile launchers. Plus, this being a third-person game, you get a really good look at what Boba Fett's armor could look like if he bothered to give it a clean once in a while.
This contemptible excuse for an officer will no longer divulge any more information to that rebel, Kyle Katarn.
Rebel General Crix Madine, who appears during the Battle of Endor and Return of the Jedi, is a master strategist and a former spy embedded in the Empire. Unfortunately, all that master strategizing didn't help his defection go smoothly. In the game Dark Forces, you, the player, as Kyle Katarn, have to go and rescue Crix after he gets caught and banged up in a detention facility on an Imperial prison planet called Orinacra. It's a complicated level with a sprawling space prison and various codes to memorize. You'll want to rescue him though, otherwise you'll cause a Star Wars time paradox and your Return of the Jedi DVD will disappear. Pretty sure that's how it works.
Okay, Jan. I rescued Madine.
Don't hang around. Let's get out of here before any more troopers arrive.
Okay, we have to cause as much destruction as we can, and be quick about it.
One of the best things about the Star Wars universe is the imaginative sci-fi names like Luke Skywalker and Salacious Crumb. But George Lucas had clearly lost interest when it came to naming the cannon fodder in the final battle of the original Star Wars film. Sort of like how Admiral Akbar's race, the Mon Calamari, is genuinely named after a delicious seafood lunch.
You made it. Thank the Force.
That's the only explanation for a slightly tubby X-Wing pilot called Porkins. Porkins! Think how close we might have been to the adventures of Han and walking carpet face bear thing. Porkins has his chance to shine though in strategy game Empire at War when he becomes a pivotal part of whichever galactic conquest mission you choose to deploy him in. Finally, time for Porkins to cover himself in glory.
Now it's time to see what's written in the comments and recorded into the hologram messages on R2 droids. Mike, the R2 unit isn't for personal use.
First up, your comments on Andy and Mike's prehistoric adventures in Far Cry Primal.
Where's my wolf? It's just hanging out next to you.
Hey, wolf.
He's on the ground.
I'm gonna heal him.
Don't reward that behaviour.
Why not? Look at him. Oh, his little face. Dull superhero Boring Man writes in to say, so is it, like, required you put a dog companion in your game?
It's more like it's encouraged.
It's easy. Making a driving game, pop a dog in the passenger seat. It can stick its head out the window.
Joshua Brown, meanwhile, presents this design query. Instead of making this a Far Cry game, why not just make it a completely different game?
Ooh, yeah, how about a rhythm action game where you have to fight animatronic US presidents in a haunted house?
Can't believe they didn't think of that, it's so obvious.
And commenter Inconceivable, like it, is impressed. Weaponized bees have so much potential. I want a caveman BFG 9000. I actually wouldn't be upset if I had to buy day one BLC.
There's a lot of buzz around that idea.
Let's move swiftly on to your comments on last week's show about Rainbow Six Siege and gaming's mightiest hammers.
Then there's Sledge's, well, sledgehammer. Stylishly accessorized with a tartan bow, he can use it to breach walls silently, it says here, but I reckon I'd probably notice if a giant Scottish man smashed his way into a room I was in with a hammer that's bigger than me.
Stay away from the wall!
John McDermott writes in, as a Scot, I really want to be offended that everyone gets cool high-tech kit and my fellow countryman gets a sledgehammer. But in all honesty, I love a good sledgehammering, especially a silent sledgehammering.
It's a national pastime. Commenter Matt3D3 on the other hand. Can't believe you guys didn't mention the super sledge from Fallout 4. What's not to love about a rocket-projected hammer?
I would use that thing once and it would blast off into space and I'd never see it again.
Speaking of power tools, commenter Getter Hero says, is nobody ever going to mention that they have a random drill or just the box case for one on the shelf behind them? Or did I miss something, lol? Oh yeah, it's a drill box, but what's inside is much more intriguing.
Oh, let me see. Oh my god!
I know, right?
We should probably leave that up there.
Yeah, can't have this falling into the wrong hands.
Finally this week, your comments about the video game protagonists who really didn't sign up for this. Are you kidding me? Some video game heroes are born great, some have greatness thrust upon them, and some get given sweet robot arms and then spend the whole game complaining about them.
I never asked for this.
As ever, some good suggestions from the Oxnauts, such as this from the Rupert Litterbin, who asks, what about the detectives from The Evil Within? They're cops, for Christ's sake, not Leon Bloody Kennedy.
Leon Kennedy is a cop.
Was a cop.
What is he now?
Presidential bodyguard turned anti-bioterrorism operative.
Fair enough. And commenter Sam Norman says, just makes me wonder when adventure will be thrust upon me.
Me too. Any second now, I bet.
Oh, just gonna go. All right.
Might just check the emergency frequency. Mike, what did I say?
That's it for Show of the Week, but many Bothans died to bring you this show, so press the like button now to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain.
Is that why there's all those dead Bothans in the kitchen? I can't get to the fridge.
Necessary sacrifices, Mike.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
All right, so lunchtime?
Oh, I can't. I've got some important business to attend to.
Okay.
Right, where's that R2 droid? I've got an X Factor audition to record.